Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and this is how to use Vikavolt. So Vikavolt is going to be a bug electric typing. We haven't seen this typing since the 5th generation back with Galvantula, and it's actually a really nice typing to check out. So let's go and look at it defensively. Now, there is something interesting with the Vikavolt, that its only ability is going to be the Levitate ability. So normally, ground would be a neutral hit, but in Vikavolt's case, it will be an immunity. So that kind of adds to our defensiveness and our tankiness. So we are going to be resisting fighting, steel, grass, and electric type hits. We have that immunity to ground, so that means we can switch in on those kinds of moves, and only 2 weaknesses. So Vikavolt doesn't have it bad defensively, like rock, fire weaknesses, that is going to be okay. Offensively, we're looking at interesting stuff, like normally electric feels pretty plain and bug has like a lot of things that resist it, but between the two of them kind of balances out. Also, bug hits super effective against grass, and grass resists electric, and then we also have it to where electric super effective on flying, and flying resists bugs. So there's a little bit of synergy there, and at least a good amount of balanced damage, but it's all about the stats. So looking at Vikavolt's stats, you look at this like mech flying bug. I mean, it already has its wings out. It looks like it's ready to strike. It seems very aerodynamic and speedy. It looks like a fast Pokemon, but it isn't. 43 on the base speed is pretty much going to change everything about everyone's perceptions of this Pokemon. However, 145 on the attack is massive and should not be underestimated. So 145 on the attack could be pretty big right there. And then the rest of the stats are fairly average. I would have preferred to see the attack and speed switched, but that speed is in a very magical low position that you can't scarf it and save it. You can't do anything to save that speed unless you're going for like speed boosts or something, which means I guess Vikavolt is a good candidate for getting Quiver Dance. So if you like Quiver Dance, Baton Pass, that could work into the Vikavolt really well, but that's about all I see for it. 70 on the attack is useless. And 77 hit point with 90 on the defense is okay, and then we have 77 hit point, 75 special defense, so that's like the average range that a powerful sweeper Pokemon can neutrally KO you. I think the stat distribution just came out to be a little disappointing compared to what it could have been for the Vikavolt. So let's go and hop on over to Cerebi and check out the moveset for Vikavolt, where actually we get a little bit of a breather. This is pretty nice to see right here, because mostly we get electric type Pokemon, its coverage is going to be pretty poor. It's like you get Thunderbolt, Discharge, you probably have to run the Hidden Power, and then you get Signal Beam, which no one uses anyways. So looking at the Vikavolt, we do have an interesting amount of coverage. I was looking at the Endure, but again, like Salac Berry, Choice Scarf, there's no way of getting anything out of this Pokemon with speed, so I don't think the Endure is going to work because we are really slow. Maybe in double battles, if you're going for like a Trick Room or a Trick Room strat, that still puts you in a pretty weak position. I believe that you could go like Patea Endure and maybe find something, but that would only be like, I think that's a little risky, but it would amplify your damage to insane amounts. Electro Web does provide some coverage, but then we see some interesting stuff like the Flash Cannon. Yo, we get access to Flash Cannon, so we have something against Fairy-type Pokemon. That works out pretty well. Volt Switch, pretty standard stuff right there. The Energy Ball is a nice touch, and then we get electric stuff. Thunderbolt, Bug Buzz, and then if we want the Discharge for doubles. However, we also get access to the Guillotine. So if you want to cheese out an Oko move, that is certainly for you. And Air Slash, I really like Air Slash for that chance to flinch, and it can be really strong, but Vikavolt isn't fast, and it's not a flying type Pokemon. I feel if you're not getting the flying stab out of the Air Slash, it feels very underwhelming, and it might not work out too well as a move. So let's go on over, hop into Pokemon Showdown, and check out Charge Bug first. Don't worry, this is a Vikavolt guide. As you can see, the only abilities are Levitate, but Charge Bug, I did get some things wrong in my guide. I was talking about, I think I said it was multiplied by 1.5 times on the damage, but battery is actually 1.3 times. Now that we have more information, because I think I did the Charge Bug guide like the day at launch, and none of the information was really cleared up yet. And also String Shot. I learned something because there was the comment section and people said that String Shot lowers speed by 2 and also affects both opponents in a double battle. I did not know that, so instead on that I was putting the Electro Web because you're going for speed support. But this actually makes Charge Bug stronger than I thought it was, because now we have a way to cut the opponent's speed in half while being Eviolite, while being tanky, while boosting our ally's special attacks. So now that means our ally can like protect or charge up or do something, and then just unleash big damage on a foe that's not gonna be able to keep up in speed at all, and it hits both opponents. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. Like I think I remember hearing that back in the 6th generation, you know, String Shot now decreases target speed stat by 2 stages. I was like, oh, that's a little interesting, maybe slightly useful now, so that's a recent change at least. But I did not know, in battles with multiple opponents, String Shot targets all adjacent foes. What? What? That's crazy, but it works. So yeah, if you want to run the Charge Bug, this is going to be a little bit of a change to that super, like, Charge Bug's super crazy in double. So I really like this, and then the string shot just makes it even stronger. So let's go check out Vikavolt right here. So what do you do when you have no speed and a high stat? You go for choice specs and max hit point investment, and you try to get the most damage possible. That's really all that there is for Vikavolt. Like, fortunately, between Thunderbolt and Bug Buzz, like, you're not losing out on coverage, and you don't have this insane, massive coverage Pokemon to where you're really hurt by the choice specs. You just go for your strongest stab option, and whatever a majority of your opponent's team isn't going to resist, and you commit to it, and then you go for kills, and that's going to be the Vikavolt. Now, the stats behind Vikavolt, it feels off tanky, but it's not even tanky enough to be an off tank. Like, you don't have tank stats, you don't have off tank stats, you just do a lot of damage if you don't die. And you can max invest in the hit points, that's going to give you some effective bulk right there. And it will save you from quite a lot of neutral hits, that, you know, those strong neutral hits that would just KO in this very frail range. Mid 70 hit points and defenses is not a good place to be, and also 90 on that defense means now we can tank up some extra hits. So we get a little bit of extra survivability out of this, and then we can just match up with some other Pokemon and go for one-shots on the Thunderbolt or Bug Buzz, and super effective hits on the Flash Cannon and Hidden Power Ice. Now with Hyper Training, Hidden Power is a bit more achievable, but if you don't want to go for that, then the Energy Ball is the option as well. And then doubles. Doubles is effectively going to be the same thing as singles unless you're running Trick Room. Like, Trick Room Vikavolt is the way to go because it all makes sense. Like, super low speed, super high special attack, or super high offensive stat. That means that this Pokemon belongs in a Trick Room. Its only goal in life is to go into doubles and be in a Trick Room and try to dish out as much damage as possible. So you run the Protect, you get your Trick Room set up, you got Discharge, you got Bug Buzz, and you go for big damage. Like, the Oranguru combo with this actually seems really strong when you break it down, because, like, alright, you can run the Telepathy, which means Discharge isn't going to hurt you. Like, the Oranguru Telepathy is so cool. So you just use it, you know, Trick Room setup on the Oranguru, then you go for the Instruct, and then you double down everything on the Discharge, and as long as they don't have any Ground-type Pokemon, or, like, super heavy resist, that's just KOs for days. And the Life Orb works in this situation. Life Orb doesn't really work here because you're taking damage, and then you're hurting yourself with the Life Orb. So Specs is going to be the option right there, and then you run coverage. So Hidden Power, Flash Cannon, whatever move you think belongs here. Even the Air Slash. Like, Air Slash could work in doubles, especially on that Trick Room, because then you get that chance to flinch a target, and maybe even with the Instruct, because then it turns into like a pseudo Serene Grace for stuff right there. Discharge is always good, 30% chance to paralyze the adjacent Pokemon as well. And then, yeah, Bug Buzz, coverage, protect, stuff like that. So that's it. Like, Vikavolt, very straightforward. You max out hit points, you max out special attack, you have Quiet in Trick Room, you have Modest in anything else, and then you just run it like that. So yeah, there's the Charge-a-Bug fix, because I put the Electro Web. Now let's go and run some damage calculations. So I was looking at the damage that we got with choice specs compared to anything else. Like, I was thinking, what if we had Zap Plate? Gives us a little bit of option, but Zap Plate against a frail Pokemon like the Weavile just is not going to be enough. So it shows 145 special attack is in a really weird place. Like, I've made the comparison before that there's really no difference between, like, 105 attack and 115 attack. When you start getting into these higher-end damages, you really need Life Orb. You really need a slight boost. You really need choice specs before you start finding the KOs, or else it really doesn't change much. Say if we were a 125 on the special attack, well, yeah, with choice specs, that's still going to be looking really good, but if we didn't have that, if we had the Life Orb, well, then we're two-hit KOing this Pokemon regardless if we're at 125, 115, and maybe even 130. Yeah, like, it's still really low odds on that 130. So it kind of shows those damage ranges fluctuate, and unless you're super committing to the choice specs at that higher end on the 145, it's not going to work out. So there's kind of a little bit of a breakdown as to how these stats work out, that just because it has big offensive stats doesn't mean it automatically wins, that you do have to take base power into consideration. Like, that's why Talonflame's so good. Talonflame has like 83 base attack. It's a low, pitiful base attack, but Stab on a high base power like Brave Bird is going to change that around. So we have standard 90 base power on Bug Buzz and Thunderbolt. Therefore, that 145 actually isn't like the most unstoppable thing ever, and we're only finding KOs against a 70 hit point, 85 special defense Pokemon. That's, again, that's the range. There's our range right there, and we don't take too much damage, though, from Weavile, unless it has Life Orb. So Weavile gets 2-hit KOs, and we get to 1-hit KOs in return, and that's really just how the Vikavolt feels. I did want to run something else. Like, how does Toxapex look? Like, I know Toxapex is going to get blown up, but yeah, so if we have max defensive investment on the Toxapex, it's not going to survive. And if we have special defense investment, wow, okay. So yeah, we have a good answer to the Toxapex right here. So unless it's like max special defense nature on the Toxapex, you'll be able to KO it. And that's on Life Orb, so Choice Specs will also look pretty devastating. Yeah, Choice Specs, 93% chance to KO. So you're looking really good against a Pokemon like Toxapex, but it makes sense. Like high base power, special attack Pokemon. We do outspeed it though. So if Toxapex is giving you a lot of problems, or you're just finding like all these weird water Pokemon, like water has an interesting amount of support now that Pelipper is out and it can run that Drizzle ability. So yeah, you can actually maybe run a bit more like water risk as long as you have the Vikavolt on your team. But that means you might have to give up something and go into Vikavolt, and if they switch into a Pokemon that eats like electric type hits, then you might be in a little bit of a problem. But the Toxapex at least shows that there's a way of working around it, and you can still add a lot of super effective damage against Pokemon that are going to be weak to it. Now let's go and look at the double battles for Vikavolt, mostly just on the Discharge. So Life Orb Discharge, just a Trick Room strat with the Oranguru and Struct potentially. That's going to be a KO. Like as long as we hit 50% on the lowest number, or even like 45%, like we still have very high chance to KO. So guaranteed to hit KO, even in doubles. That doubles cuts the damage by 25%. So yeah, that shows why this could be so good in Trick Room. Just hitting all the opponents for insane amounts of damage and maybe even doubling up on it. Or if you just have another like bulky, high damage Trick Room Pokemon that's doing something in return, you can easily find enough damage to start picking off opponents in 2 hits under that Trick Room, which is effectively the idea behind it. I want to see Tapu, just other Tapu Pokemon. So Tapu Lele, it will not go down. Wow, yeah, so the special defense ranges start changing up quite a bit. 115 on that special defense with the Tapu Lele. That Discharge will not be able to find the 2-hit KO, so that could be dangerous, especially with that Psychic doing so much damage. And if it has Life Orb, yeah, that's going to kind of really suck for you. So it takes damage, so it's going to lose a little bit of health on the Life Orb, but it's still not going to be enough to put it into a deadly range. Guaranteed 3-hit KO. So that's unfortunate right there. I'm trying to think about some interesting other Pokemon, like Celesteela is pretty big right there, so we'll do Mixed. Discharge is not a 1-hit KO outright. Thunderbolt is, so like it's one of those weird options that you could run the Thunderbolt for single target nuke against the opponent, or you can also run the Discharge for that split damage, and you will have to give up the coverage. You know, you could give up the Hidden Power Ice, run Bug Buzz, Thunderbolt, Discharge, Protect, because you need that Protect on that turn of setup. And if we had Choice Specs, but again, that means no Protect, it would show doesn't really change too much on damage, especially when we're going for like 2-hit KOs. I don't think the damage ranges don't really matter on the Discharge as much. And I'm just going to start looking up some random Pokemon stuff. The Tapu Fini, I think, since it already has that super effective hit, it'll be able to survive at least 1 Discharge. So yeah, the Discharge split damage, showing kind of the weaknesses of that 145 special attack that you don't just find raw 1-hit KOs in the doubles under that Discharge, but you can find it in these single battles. And if we drop back down to the Life Orb, so Thunderbolt's still a KO. Yeah, like, depending on how heavy, you know, I've seen a lot of Tapu Fini, I've seen a lot of Toxapex, that if there is a lot of water in the meta, Vikavolt might be a good option, even in singles. Like, it has a little bit of bulk. It can survive something. You know, Moonblast is a 2-hit KO. With a Tapu Fini, it'll outspeed you, but you at least get a response. So maybe you can use it as a big sacrifice Pokemon. That pretty much what happens with a Vikavolt is that you get outsped, you get hit, and then you kill them, and then you get outsped, you get hit, and then you die, or something like that. Or at least, you know, you take hits, you can trade really well, but you're only going to trade a 1-for-1, and then you're too slow to kind of capitalize it after that. Maybe Tailwind if we max out speed, but then that's going to make things, like, pretty bad. So Tailwind doubles our speed, which is always going to be pretty nice right there. 95 speed, level 50, getting doubled. Oh, never mind. Like, that's still not a lot of speed. Like, 130 base speed Pokemon should still outspeed us at that range. So let's go and bring up the Tapu Koko. Like, I was just thinking about these other ones last second just to make sure I was trying to cover everything that I could. So yeah, let's just, oh wait, why did I do blank set? Either way, we can just go Intimidator on that Tapu Koko. Yeah, like, that's 200. That's doubling is not going to give us to that 200. So even doubling the speed on Tailwind, yeah, Vikavolt, it only belongs in Trick Room. There is no saving this Pokemon with like a Tailwind or something like that. And the damage numbers do pan out. So Tapu Koko without any, wow, yeah, it has a low, wow. I'm just like wowing right now because it has that low special defense. So we can actually 2-hit KO Tapu Koko on those discharges because the electric terrain boosts our damage against it. It makes me actually want to check the special set, see what Tapu Koko does in return to us. So yeah, special sweeper, right on. So yeah, Thunderbolt's going to be the 2-hit KO, but we protect, we set up the Trick Room, and then we just go for it. So the discharge can 2-hit KO with the Instruct. We can find some extra damage to level on it. And Vikavolt, it's interesting. It needs a Trick Room. It's a 1-for-1, it needs a lot of help, but then it still has good damage behind okay tankiness, and it just kind of works depending on where the meta is going. So guys, enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day, thank you very much for watching.